What is happening, people? Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the upper tier. It is Monday. It's the Monday mashup. Mark hopefully will be joining us shortly. He's just getting the kiddos off the bed. So said we kick off the show and get it going. Anyway, plenty to get through tonight. Lots to talk about. But before we get into that, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and of course, drop a like on the video. We welcome all your comments in there as well in the comment section. Make sure you get involved in the chat. So I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope you got to do everything that you wanted to do and everything was good and all that kind of stuff. Let us know in the chat as well what you got up to at the weekend, if you got up to something special. Daz, if you're in the chat there, let us know how you got on. If you're back home, you were over here and then you're up in Glentoran, I think. Let us know how you got on. But apart from that, we've plenty to get through. We're going to be taking a look at the transfer window that's heating up. A few interesting transfers coming through. We're going to be going through the League of Ireland again, and of course we're going to be getting Marky's thoughts on the FAI third round draw, toys to be played the week ending August the 17th. An absolutely fantastic draw. So many Premier League teams drawing each other and stuff like that, and also we're checking that out, of course. But before we get into the show, we are going to turn around and say that our sponsor for the Monday mashup, of course, is Hogan Elite Trophy Hire. Mark's side business there, where he hires out trophies like the Premier League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, to name a few, the Champions League, of course, and he hires these out for charity events and special occasions and all that kind of stuff. So you will find the pages out there on Facebook, Hogan Elite Trophy Hire, and the same on Instagram. So if you could drop a follow, drop a like, give a share, let people know, share it around your own groups, all that kind of stuff, help Marky grow that business. And we had a visitor into the shop today, but I'll hold off on that until Mark comes on, because Mark will be glad to hear. I was talking to him today and he had the pleasure of having Mark's trophies. Big Celtic fan, and he had the pleasure of having Mark's trophies at his wedding. And he said it really, really made a huge difference on the day and stuff like that. But we'll talk about that in a bit. So if you could, folks, Hogan Elite Trophy Hire, Facebook, Instagram, let them know you're a subscriber to the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And Marky will look after you. So get that done. In the comments, Baz is in. Big up Baz. He was in me today. We had the crack today, of course, as always. And my brother from the Shankly Sessions and so much more. Dino, how are you, my friend? Hope you are well. I'm literally only back from the gym. Been back in the gym now, Dino, just over about 8-9 days at this stage. I've done about 5 workouts and I'm only back. And it's nice trying to do an hour in the gym and then an hour down in the sauna and steam room and swimming pool and all that kind of stuff. So trying to get back fit again and get back to some semblance of what I used to look like and stuff like that. So back at it in the gym, really enjoying it at the moment and stuff like that. I was up there this evening and all. I was floating around the pool with Ben. And the next thing, this Zumba Aqua Aerobics class started. And you know me, we got in, we got the moves going, all that kind of stuff, bit of crack, joined in with the ladies up there and all that kind of stuff. Myself and Ben were dancing around the pool. Good crack, I have to say. And if you're thinking of getting back into fitness, folks, get in there, but get in and do something that you like and stuff like that. So before we get into the show as well, obviously we have to say congratulations to the Lionesses on another huge victory. Incredible, back-to-back, absolutely phenomenal from them. Incredible win and stuff like that. I know people have all sorts of thoughts and ideas about the Penos and all that kind of stuff and everything and all, but it was absolutely fabulous to see themselves in Spain go at it and stuff like that, and also really, really impressive. And congrats to everyone involved. So there you go. I want to get Marky's thoughts as well when he comes on. I'm sure you know Mark he's a huge wrestling fan. And I wanted to get his thoughts on the passing of Hulk Hogan. So we will get his thoughts when he comes on the pass. That Mark's a huge wrestling fan. One of his all-time favorites is the Honky Tonk Man, because Mark's a huge Elvis Presley fan. So we'll talk to Mark when he comes on about that, if he makes it on. But if he doesn't, folks, there's only one place to be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Pro Wrestling Weekly. The panel is going to be on. I think Eno might be joining us as well. For an emotional kind of show, we will take a look at Raw. We will take a look at SummerSlam, but we'll be devoting a large portion of the show to the great icon of pro wrestling, Hulk Hogan. And we'll be giving our thoughts and stuff like that, and we'll reflect back on matches and get everyone's thoughts. And it should be a really, really interesting show as well, because we have really varying age groups on it and stuff like that. Because as you know, I'm in my 50s, Ian's just close to his 40s. Brian, I think, is in his 30s, if I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. And the two boys are young enough. I think the two boys are only heading towards sort of 20s. So it'll be an interesting dynamic. Philip, my man, how are you? Hi, Niall. Are you still devastated? Man, I'm truly devastated. I really am. I really am. I was just, when the more the days go on, the more you reflect on it. He was just such a huge part of my life and stuff like that and all. I remember as a kid going in and getting that Hulkamania t-shirt made up and stuff like that. Cost me a fortune, but it was worth it. But, he was the man who inspired me, I think, between him and Arnie at the time. I don't know if you were kind of one of those kids born in the 70s, kind of developing in the 80s and stuff like that. We were huge fans of like Predator and Rambo and Rocky and all these classic movies and stuff like that. So it was quite inspirational. And at the time, like, we were between himself and Stallone and probably Schwarzenegger were the three people, maybe Van Damme as well, somewhat, were the guys who really inspired me to pick up weights in the beginning, and I started lifting weights at about 13 or 14. I used to be out in the backyard and my dad bought me, I remember, a DP Lifestyle weight set. And it was a red bench, but it was an all-weather bench, and you could incline it and it had the leg thing at the front and all, the standard ones that you put when you're younger and stuff like that, and it had the barbells and the dumbbells and all. And I used to go out the back and I'd have the Hulkamania t-shirt on me, and I'd be doing the workout out in the backyard and down in Ghost Town when we lived down there. And I tell you, there was no better place. It was everything I wanted in the world I had in that back garden. And him and Macho Man. And I was a big fan of Don Morocco at the time. So I remember how big Don Morocco was. And then Ken Patera came back in. And I was always a fan of those guys with the big bodies and stuff like that. They were always there. Mr. Wonderful and all. Lex Luger, when he came into the NWA and stuff like that, Dream Cocker Promotions, all. I'd never seen... At that time, I had never seen such a perfect physique. And then we know, of course, Vince started the WBF and Lex came in and got involved in the WBF, and we know fell away after a year or two. The idea was really good. One of my favorites all time was Eddie Robinson at the time. And I remember watching him on the WBF, and he was so cool. He came out and he did kind of a commando thing and all. And Gary Stryden was in there at the time, and Mike Christian, all these greats in bodybuilding and stuff like that and all. Then back in the IFBB, of course, you'd Lee Haney and all those kind of guys. Dorian Yates was beginning to come on the scene. It was just a wonderful time, the movies, all the different movies with Arnie and all, Commando and Predator and The Running Man and all these different things. They were so cool at the time, but people forget they were so influential to people at that stage and stuff like that, and then I went on and I took up weights and stuff like that. And then I went on to compete as a bodybuilder. And then I kind of got sidetracked and I lost my way. And then we came into COVID and all that kind of stuff. And then I blew up and I put on a lot of weight. And now I'm determined to get rid of it. So that's my plan at the moment. So I'm going to work my socks off and be careful with the diet and all that kind of stuff. Big up, Phil. Hulk Hogan to wrestling was Muhammad Ali to boxing and Pele to football. 100% and more. And more. Because the thing about it is, you can have a debate about Pele and Maradona. You could have a debate. Probably can't have a debate about Muhammad Ali, obviously. But there's no debate about Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan, without a doubt, is the greatest wrestler to ever walk on this planet and the greatest entertainer, and incredible. He was the man who put the entertainment and sports entertainment. Great to hear, bro. Got to be looking after number one. Absolutely. Yeah, so it was great. It's great. So I'm trying to fit it in on the podcast and everything and all, but we'll keep it on track. You best get involved into the classes, and we want videos. Yeah, we know. We were just swimming around the pool, just floating around, and the next thing, this guy put on a ghetto blood, this guy put on a music system, and it was Fateless and all the old dance tracks and stuff like that and all. And there was some elderly women, there was a mix of women in the pool, and they're all going around, they're giving it this and all. And we said to Ben, come on, we jump in for the crack, and we just started messing around at the side and all. So it's good fun, all in good jest. And listen, you have to enjoy the working out as well. That's the most important thing. If you don't enjoy it, why would you commit to it? Right, let's get into the football then. Let's talk transfers. Lads, talk to me about transfers. Luis Diaz out the door to Bayern Munich, 75 million, whatever currency you want. Let me know your thoughts on this deal. Dino, you're in the chat. You're a Liverpool man. Let me know your thoughts. Luis Diaz. We both spoke about this. Fantastic footballer. We both really, really loved him. He was absolutely fantastic. But one of the problems was there was soundings coming out of the background constantly from the dad. He was kind of wiggling his bum and stuff like that for Barcelona and various things like that. And we arrived at this situation here where maybe it was time to part ways and explore options. Luis Diaz coming into the last 2 years of his contract. And this is probably the right way to do things. If it's working really, really well, at 2 years you extend, or at 2 years you get out of town if it's not working for you. So yeah, I think it's a really, really good deal. But I also think it's a good deal for Bayern Munich. Because I think Luis Diaz is a very, very good player, and I think Luis Diaz will absolutely tear it up in the Bundesliga. So I'm really, really, really impressed both with the deal and also with his move. I wish him all the best because he has given us some really, really great moments at times in that shirt. I remember when he came in, one of his first matches, remember in the Carabao Cup, I think it was against Chelsea. I remember he just sat them down. He was just unplayable that day. Phenomenal. So best of luck to Luis Diaz, and thank you for everything. We'll also have to talk, obviously, about links with Rodrigo and stuff like that. What are they going to do there? What do we think is going to happen? Will they go in for Rodrigo? Will they go in for someone else? Will they stick? Will they go with Cody Gakpo? And obviously we have the boy Rio in there as well, who's looking like a fabulous prospect. But I don't really want that kind of pressure put on a 16-year-old kid. He looks absolutely fantastic, but if we can nurture him along, keep him in there in the squad, use him when the times are right to use him and stuff like that, but don't overly expose him because we don't want to destroy him. He's only a young kid, stuff like that. So we're linked with Rodrigo, and then the boy you see in the bed there, it's just to trigger all you Newcastle fans. Alexander Isak fast asleep in his Liverpool bed in his Liverpool room there, which I thought was a cool image today. Newcastle fans, please stop getting triggered. We did it with Coutinho, so don't be getting triggered about this. This sale could be the sale that actually puts you on the right path for sustainability in that top 5 and stuff like that. We were going nowhere till we sold Coutinho. We were crying out for a keeper. We were crying out for a centre-back. That spine of the team is disjointed. We sold Coutinho. We reinvested the money. And then look at what it sent. It sent us on the path to a Premier League, a Champions League, another Premier League. So don't see this as being a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't throw shade at people for wanting to sign your best players. I know it hurts, but everyone was clapping Trent off in the summer, going off you go to Real Madrid, send them off, lads, give them the right send off and all this kind of stuff and all. And you heard what Alan Shearer had to say about Trent leaving from Madrid. Oh, come on, you got to respect the decision. Well, let's respect the decision of Alexander Isak then, if that's what he wants to do. So, you know what I mean? No one was complaining when you went in and you dragged Anthony Gordon out by the hair from Everton when they were in a really bad financial situation and stuff like that. So let's taper it down here a little bit and let's see things for what they really are. Keith Seary, great football, but his dad pissed me off, to be honest. To get someone who's nearly 29 and you get 70 mil is a great piece of business. It is. But you know something about him? He's a really, really good player. And I don't expect him. I think Bayern Munich will get at least 3 very good years out of him. And I think that's what has to be noted here, you know. Do you think this Isak deal is done deal in some way? I think there's something there. I wasn't totally thinking that way, Keith. And then, you know something? I listened to Eddie Howe's post-match. I think it was after the Arsenal game. And he was asked about Alexander Isak, and he looked like he'd fucking fire in him. So I think maybe that's the case. I think they're accepting the fact, look, you can't keep a player around if he's not happy and he wants to move on. Obviously, Alexander Isak is coming into the final stages of nearly his last big contract, if you like. This will be the big one. Because if he signs for a 4 or a 5 year, that's going to bring him up to what, 31? I think he's 26 now. So like this is his last big contract. So it's really, really important. One, that he gets it right. And two, that it's going to develop and deliver what he wants to look back on his career. So obviously, you know, if you're probably one of the best strikers in Europe and probably the best striker probably in the Premier League, maybe second best, who knows, you know, you're going to want to be competing for Premier Leagues and Champions League. And I think Newcastle in time will get there. But I think that project is still a number of years off. And we've seen it this year because they've really, really struggled to attract players in. For one reason or another, I think out of that I read today, I think out of 13 targets, they landed a Langa, and that's it, So it's a really, really, really difficult one for them. And listen, we're used to that as well, because if you remember going back through the, prior to the Klopp era and stuff like that, no, we were attracting in. We were having to go for third and fourth and fifth and leftovers and absolute dross. Players that came in that should have never gone inside the gates without buying a ticket. And so this is the way it is. But I think for Newcastle, I think it's just because he's their guy, and he was supposed to be the guy that maybe spearheaded them in a certain direction, and now he wants out. But there's nothing wrong with being a player and being ambitious. I think we were on the verge of losing Mo Salah and Virgil van Dijk as well as Trent this year, and I think FSG sat down with Salah and with Van Dijk. I think they knew Trent was gone. Salah and Van Dijk, and I think they showed Salah and Van Dijk what they wanted to do in this window. They wanted to create that legacy, create that dynasty, put that team in there that would stand up for 3, 4, 5 years, no problem, and would deliver silverware on a big scale to those two boys before they check out in the next 2 years. And I think that might be what have convinced them to stay. Now, obviously, there's money and there's contractual stuff as well. But I think the one thing that Mo Salah always said, and Virgil van Dijk, was they wanted the club to match the ambition that the players were shown and that the fans were shown. And that's a big thing. And I think someone sat down with those boys in the summer, maybe Hughes and Michael Edwards sat down with them and said, lads, this is the plan. This is the framework. This is what you can be a part of. And no one has, in terms of transfer window, I've never, ever experienced anything like this. I've never seen my club act in this manner ever. It's been a long time since we've been anywhere near it. So it's interesting to see what way it's all going to unfold. But interesting. Let's get your comments in. Fair point, Noel. Yeah, absolutely, Philip. Dino's in. Boy Diaz, sour taste in my mouth over him and his dad. Since the release from kidnap, especially after what the club did for them. Yeah, it was a difficult one to take, But big money and Gakpo was more than good enough. Some great memories of Diaz, but went about it the wrong way, in my opinion. Yeah, and the funny thing about it with Diaz, it wasn't even you kind of felt it wasn't even him pushing it. You know what I mean? Because we didn't read a whole lot of articles him saying he wanted to move away and stuff like that. No, it was mainly the dad just talking up and stuff. This Isaac deal has me absolutely dreaming. Never ever imagined a window like this in all my years as a Red. Absolutely. Keith is in. I don't see Isaac playing every game on the slot. I think he will rotate him every 2 or 3 games and Ekitike and keep Isaac's injuries at bay. The one thing we have found as well, that if you look at it, one of the things that came out of last season, if you remember, interviews with Mo Salah turned around and he said that Arne Slot came in and totally revolutionized the way he played, the way he trained, all that kind of stuff, that he didn't want Mo Salah putting in those crazy, wasteful, hard yards, that he wanted them to keep that in the tank for when the moment came, when you instigate that in that right moment. And you look at Salah even towards the end of the season, he was pretty fresh compared to what we've seen in the past. Now, I know, okay, some of the goals dried up and stuff like that, but that didn't matter. We were over with 6 games to go, whatever it was, we had won the league, so it didn't really matter, But I wonder, could he do that with Alexander Isak as well, because obviously playing in that Newcastle side, there's a lot of work to be put in. But if you have people around Alexander Isak, remember, you're going to have Vertonghen behind him. You could have Ekitike on the left. You could have Gakpo on the left. You could have the young boy Rio on the left. You have Mo Salah on the right. If Mo isn't around, you could have Frimpong and stuff like that. These are guys who put in the yards, Then you think about Kerkez on that side. You've got Mac pulling the strings. You've got Gravenberch pulling the strings. This is really, really exciting. So Isak shouldn't have to work as hard in as much time within a match and stuff like that, which means hopefully he shouldn't pick up as many injuries. And the one thing we're the champion of solving those issues at times, because we've had to deal with them so much. So, I still do think he'll rotate him a bit. But we'll see. I mean, there's talk even of him potentially putting Ekitike out on the left as well. So that would be interesting as well. Let's see how that goes. Michael Edwards back at Liverpool is a big difference. When he left a void there. It did. He handed off to Julian Ward, and I think then Julian Ward at times basically got bullied by Jurgen Klopp, really, and then that's when Julian Ward got out of town pretty quick as well. And then when Klopp was put in charge, then it was kind of, it wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't anything like this level. Now Jurgen Klopp might argue that he was never financed to this level, and that's probably true as well. 100% Niall, I never predicted this from Liverpool this summer. I knew we would get some players, but never thought we would do this. It's been unbelievable. It has been unbelievable. And there's still a ways to go. Like, we're sitting back there and we're thinking, Gahey could happen. Isaac, obviously. There still could be plenty here to happen. This is a crazy times at Liverpool. And the funny thing about it is, if we get out the door what's being spoken about, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, it's gonna look like a phenomenal window in terms of we're doing a phenomenal job even on the sales side. I was reading an article there today that Richard Hughes has sold. I think he's only been involved in 3 windows as far as I know, maybe 4, and in total now. And he's done 190 million in sales. That's phenomenal. Diaz's star won't get coke as nice as he got off them good Scousers. Shit weather, but better source of coke in Liverpool than Munich. Oh, God. If Liverpool get Isaac and Gahey, I would expect Liverpool to win the Premier League title this season. Keith, you should be expecting Liverpool Football Club to win the Premier League title if they never signed either of these boys. It's an obligation, Keith. We're Liverpool Football Club. It's an obligation for us to win silverware. There we go. Right, let's get into some of these as well. Chelsea looking to do big things as well. Xavi Simons potentially coming in. He'd be a great signing. I'd rate him better on the left, isn't on Pedro Neto. I was talking to Ian earlier today in our WhatsApp group and stuff like that. I'm going to have some interesting predictions when it comes to that prediction show. I think in Thursday, 2 weeks. So make sure you join us for that, folks. And we're going to be getting you on to give you your predictions. You're not going to be hiding in the chat. But also they're in for the boy Hato, who myself and Dino spoke about earlier in the summer and stuff like that. Left-sided defender. He can do left side central or left-sided. Absolute beast of a player. Would have loved him to get him at Liverpool. But looks like he's on his way to Chelsea. And he ain't huge money either. So they're doing really, really good business at the moment, Chelsea. And I see today also Chelsea linked with Donnarumma, who looks like he wants to get out of PSG. So if Chelsea sign Xavi Simons, Hato, and Donnarumma, what's the conversation going to look like then? Let me know what the conversation looks like then. Remember, this is a Chelsea side that came. Chelsea probably last season were the team that probably came the closest to us until they had the drop off. Remember, I think there was one of the games just before Christmas or something, or in around that time, where I think, I'm not sure whether we were playing or we were caught up in something, and Chelsea were playing, and if they won that game or something, I think they came within 2 points of us or something. Then they had this drop-off. Also, Nicholas Jackson being linked with a move to Newcastle. Chelsea still holding a valuation on him of 80 million, which I think is shocking beyond belief. And there's certain aspects of Nicholas Jackson that I like. But 80 million is a massive stretch. And then I read that Newcastle turned around and said, well, we only value him at 65. And I was thinking, 65 is even shocking for this guy. What do you say? Why would you even say that? That's insane. But can you be imagine being a Newcastle fan at the moment, you've just won a trophy after 70 years, got your bit of silverware. Phenomenal. Even as a Liverpool fan, if I was going to lose to someone, I was happy to lose to Newcastle. Brilliant parade, celebration, all that. Get your top 5 in the Champions League. And then you can't draw anyone in. Everyone is just playing it down, refusing to go, anyone you've been in for. And this is even like players going to teams that don't have European football. And then on top of that, potentially, Callum Wilson, I think, gone to West Ham. Potentially Alexander Isak going to Liverpool. and also Tino Livramento potentially going to Man City. I think Newcastle very quickly need to get deals done and they need to get players in. I know they're in a bit of a battle for Sesko at the moment with Man United. Um, but if they miss out on him and Man United land Sesko, which I'm surprised they're going for, because he's a very, very good player, but he kind of feels like a project player. And I'm not sure whether I'd be rolling that dice if I was Man United on a project forward. I'd like something a bit more proven, even if it's a shorter term, like an Ollie Watkins and stuff like that. Something that's a bit of a guarantee. But yeah, if they missed out on Sesko now, so they had a chance to sign Ekatike, and we told them, go sign Ekatike and give us Isaac. And they wouldn't listen, and we went and we signed them. But they could be potentially opening up with Nicholas Jackson as their forward. Let that deep. What did you make of the news? Obviously, Eze going from Crystal Palace, potentially going to Arsenal. I know Chelsea are looking at the boy as well. So they're focusing quite a bit on that left side between Xavi Simons and also Eberechi Eze. It'll be interesting to see which one do they land. I think Eze has his heart designed on Arsenal. But who knows? Chelsea could swoop in and do the business there. But then they've a lot on the left-hand side, haven't they? Neto's there. They're after bringing in the boy Gittins. So I don't know if they bring in Xavi Simons as well. What's going to happen there? And so we shall see. And also this one that came out of the blue yesterday, this Rodrigo one, which was very interesting. Real Madrid were going to throw the bag at Rodrigo. They were offering him Camavinga. They were offering Camavinga money. They were offering players and money and all this kind of stuff. Obviously, Real Madrid identifying very quickly in the midfield that the loss of Modric and Toni Kroos, absolutely massive. Two of the best midfielders the game has ever seen. And they've put in various different, they've brought in Tchouaméni, they've brought in Camavinga, they've brought in a number of different players. They haven't really found that Rodri level player and stuff like that. But this would be interesting, wouldn't it? Imagine Rodri going to Real Madrid after all that shit with Vinny Jr. on the Ballon d'Or and all. That would be absolutely insane. But yeah, interesting times in the transfer window. And we did say that this summer was going to be absolutely crazy and off the wall, and it has been. And there's so much more business to do. If you look down through the Premier League, apart from like the kind of top four who are doing business and stuff like that, United have brought in their 210s and probably a bit more still to come in. Sunderland doing really, really good business. But who else? Who else is doing really? Who sticks out there? Everton, David Moyes came out and says they've targeted a load of players. No one wants to go to Everton, brand new swanky stadium. Plenty of other teams really struggling. And a lot of those teams as well, players that they leaned on last year to perform and stuff like that, are getting out of town. Look at Brentford, and Buemo gone, Norgard gone, and Vissa wants out by the looks of things as well. Massive, two of their key front men and their captain. And then you look at you look at Bournemouth after losing Kerkez, and they'll probably lose a few more as well. They lost Huijsen to Real Madrid and stuff like that. And all. Some of these teams, you look at Spurs. Spurs got in Kudus, then they got the here we go for Morgan Gibbs White, and then that got reversed over the NDA in relation to the release clause, and now he's after signing the new contract. What did you make of the video, guys? What did you make of that video last night with Makarakis and Morgan Gibbs White? It was like hostage or something, wasn't it? It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let's get into your comments here. Where are we? Yeah, Gay is a must now with Joe injured again. Absolutely. Gay probably plus one more because I don't know what Liverpool's plan is for Joe Gomez. Sad to see him out. Apparently he's out till February with this Achilles, but it's just maybe Father Time is catching up in that situation, So maybe we need to get in too. Because remember, Nat Phillips is gone as well, isn't he? I'm very excited to see what young Rio can do this season. Therefore, would give him minutes. I love the fearlessness. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a straight baller, isn't he? He's built like a little tank as well. He has that little centre of gravity as well. Can tear it up. I think Chelsea will be challenging for the title, but they will drop off in March They don't have any players with any Premier League title experience. Interesting. What about the Bumkeith off the World Club Cup? You know, they're coming into it now as world champions. They're going to be wearing that crest on the jersey. You know what I mean? That's gonna way big for them. What do you see? Big up, Niall. Hope you're well. Long time no see. It's Jack. Big up, Jack. Seen you in the chat the other night. Hope you're well, my friend. Hope things are going good with the channel and all stuff like that. Really looking forward to the new season. Jack, what did you make? What's going on at Liverpool, pal? What's going on? I couldn't care if Hato goes to Chelsea as long as we get Gahey. What about if we get Gahey and Hato, lads? Let's get greedy here. Let's pour that greed out. Let's keep that money counter going there. Keep that money counter going. No, I'll shout out the FPL Cash League I'm doing with the lads. If any listeners want to get involved, €10 entry, top 3 for cash prizes. We can have an FPL part on the show every Monday. Absolutely, you can give us an update of where people are at and all. Yeah, if you want, Dino, if you've information on it and stuff like that, just tell them where they can contact you and stuff like that and all. They want to get in touch. Or folks, if you're not sure how to get in touch with Dino for the fantasy football, get in touch with me. You can email me, theuppertierpodcast@gmail.com, and I will send you on all the info. Dino, if you want to send me on that info, I'll have it there and I can email it out to everyone. And also what I can do is I can pin it in the link in the comments over the next few shows and stuff like that and put it in the description. Perfect. United need a proven goal scorer, striker, 100%, not a project striker, a proven goal scorer who can get them over the line. Yeah, they need someone who can find the back of the net. The risk with Šeško, who's a very, very good player, absolutely monster of a player as well. But, you know, in terms of the Premier League, in terms of the potential weight of the United jersey and the jeopardy and everything that goes with that and all, and you know, we seen it with Hoyland. Hoyland came in, was absolutely fabulous at Atalanta and stuff like that. Couldn't handle it. Xerxes came in, probably did a little bit better in fits and spurts and stuff like that. But again, struggled so much, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think bringing Šeško in, big money. You know, I know the fee has dropped down. I think it's about 50, 60 million now. It was up in the 80s, I think. He's going to want decent wage as well. I think it's a big risk. I wouldn't be as worried about United getting Šeško as I would be if United got an Ollie Watkins or, you know, a proven someone in the Premier League who'll absolutely bang them for you. But let me know your thoughts. It's horses for courses, really. News tonight, Niall, is that Canada and Liverpool are not far apart on the new deal, which would be huge. Madrid apparently wants Saliba. Yeah, I heard that. I heard they might actually try to make a move as well. I can't see Arsenal selling Saliba, could you? And at this stage, you know, we're going into nearly now. At the end of this week is the final month of the window, you know. And I think what happens is if you want to get a player like that, you know, look at how long we've been talking about Isaac. When you're going in for big deals like that and you're trying to turn a player's head, you know, and the problem is not only do you turn the player's head, but maybe they might do a deal with him to come in the following year, you know, something like what we did with Van Dijk or something like that, you know. Who knows? I don't know, because Arsenal would need time to replace him, and look, who would they replace him with? You know what I mean? They find themselves in a position where they've got to flick Ben White back in there and look at the right back situation. I don't know. That would not be a good message being sent to Arsenal. I think Newcastle will be in trouble if they don't get the right striker in, because it sends a bad message to their other better players who might leave. And that's the issue, isn't it? Like, the question here is, if you go in at the first 4 weeks of the window, say up till 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, you know, we had the early window and then on. Has Alexander Isak looked at Newcastle missing out on player after player after player? And like we spoke about at the start of the show, when we spoke at the start of the show, we spoke about how did Hughes and Edwards show Salah and Van Dijk this roadmap of what we were going to do? And is that what convinced them that the ambition was there and that FSG were then serious? Is this the flip side of that? Is Newcastle missing out on these signings and not developing at the pace that they want? Is that a big part of Alexander Isak's decision making? because that Newcastle side, as we see it at the moment, where they won the Carabao Cup last season, they ain't competing for the Premier League or the Champions League anytime soon. And for you to be the best striker in the league, can't be playing for the fifth club in the league. And it may not even be the fifth club this season. And that's the thing. You know, we've seen it for years. I mean, what was our biggest complaint about Harry Kane for years? Our biggest complaint about Harry Kane for years was that he should have moved on. He should have been more ambitious. You know, he should have got the move when the time came to go, and he never expressed that move. And then in the end, he had to go. So, yeah, I don't know. We shall see. That dustpan trophy, Chelsea, nobody takes that seriously, should be renamed Who Wants to Be a Millionaire Trophy. I'm telling you, don't sneer at it. Big money in it. Big money. I would take Ollie Watkins any day of the week. Yeah, absolutely, Philip. I think so. Just because you have that reasonable guarantee there, you know, Premier League experience. I know we all talk about Premier League proven. And look, Liverpool, we've brought in Frimpong, we've brought in Wirtz. You know, we brought in Ekitike. We brought in players that aren't Premier League proven. But we have that core there, that spine that's extremely Premier League proven. And when you put players into a pitch with players like Van Dijk, Alisson, Robbo, Salah, you know, Gakpo, players like that who understand, Mac, Gravenberch now after the season that he had, these players who understand, you know, even young Conor Bradley, who understand that Premier League now, who understand that battle and the fierceness of being in that midfield and what you have to do and all that kind of stuff. And when we talk about Premier League proven, you know, it's not to be dismissed as just a saying and stuff like that. I think it carries a lot of weight, you know, and I think that's why United went that route. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have necessarily looked at United at the end of last season when they lost that final to Spurs and went, you know what you guys need? Cunha and Mbeumo. I would have never said that. But I can see why they're doing it. Because I know now they're at a crossroads, and this final roll of the dice onto that craps table has to hit double sixes, has to, or they're in serious trouble. Serious trouble. Dino, Saliba may push for it, given Arsenal everything and 1-0. Arsenal have many. A centre back, hopefully he goes. Yeah, I don't know, because they're talking about Kivior going out the door. Tomiyasu went. Ben White has been operating on the right side. He hasn't really been in centre back. I think he covered once or twice, but I don't know. He's a big player for them, Saliba. Now it's equivalent of their Van Dijk, you know. How do you replace him? Who do you bring in? Who's in there? There's a good question for you, Dino. If Saliba went, who comes in? Do they go for a Botman if they could keep him injury free? Do they go into Spurs? Do they prize out? Do they do a Sol Campbell part 2 and take Mickey van de Ven out of Spurs? What do they do? Who goes in there? Let me know in the chat, folks. If Saliba was to leave Arsenal and go to Real Madrid, who goes in there? Who's available? I think FSG have told Van Dijk and Salah that they have made some serious progress with Wirtz, Kerkez, etc., probably around March or April. Yeah, I think what they did, they showed them what the targets were. We've been extremely precise with our targets. It hasn't been, we haven't really been signing players of opportunity. We were linked heavily with Ekitike. I know that the Isaac thing and all that kind of stuff. But if you look at the players that we signed, these are the players we were all talking about. We knew about Frimpong. We knew about Kerkez. Marmadashvili was already signed. You know what I mean? So, like, we knew. We were heavily linked to Wirtz. So I think it was well known that this was the track. The only issue that the boys had was FSG going to do, and I don't think FSG had an appetite to have to replace Trent, Van Dijk, and Salah all in one summer. That would have been absolutely mental and brought us to our knees. That's it, folks. Let me know anything else on transfers you want to talk about or anything else like that. Want to talk about, I'll wait for Mark. Hopefully Mark gets on and we can talk about the third round of the FAI Cup. I'll flash it up there anyway, folks. What do you think? Throw in anything else you want to talk about. What do you reckon? I would love if Madrid goes after Saliba because it means Madrid fuck off and leave our players alone. I'm sick of them. Listen, sometimes these moves are the best things in the world. You know what I mean? Like you look at Trent after going over there. What's after happening? Got Connor Bradley, got Frimpong. You know, there's life after these players. When you're as old as I am and you followed Liverpool as long as I have and stuff like that, I have seen the Alan Hansons, the Kenny Dalglish's, Stephen Gerrards, the Robbie Fowlers, the Alan Kennedys. I've seen all these great players, Ray Clements, all these fabulous players leave our club for one reason or another. You know, you follow the badge, not the name on the back. The name on the back become heroes and legends, but we follow the badge on the front. Let us know, folks. What do you think of the third round draw? Let us know who you kind of siding with at the moment. Who do you think is going to win the FAI Cup this year? Let me know your thoughts. An absolutely fabulous draw. Bowes versus Sligo, Derry versus Drogheda, Drogheda the holders. St. Pat's versus Shelbourne. You know, even if you look at some of the some of the some of the derbies that are in there and all, even Kerry Cove. Kerry Cove, that's gonna be quite a feisty one, Salt Hill versus Galway. You know what I mean? Could we have more of a derby? Salt Hill versus Galway is the equivalent of Bray versus Wayside in the last round, isn't it? Yeah, Pats and Shells, Derry and Drogheda, Bowes and Sligo. I don't know as well, folks. When we get into, we're going to talk about the FAI now, and we're going to bring it up. And I have to say, lads, I watched at the weekend. Cork versus Sligo. Yeah, Cork versus Sligo. What a game, folks! What a game! If there was ever an advertisement for the League of Ireland, that Cork versus Sligo game was sensational. Unbelievable goals. Unbelievable goals. I think Cork were 2-0 up. I think it was at half time. And then they had some great chances and they missed them. And then Sligo just came alive in the second half and ate them up. And once Sligo got that first goal, you could see it in Cork then as well. They were absolutely crapping their jocks. But it was a great game. It was the game that I watched at the weekend. Then you look down the bottom there. Galway 2, Waterford 4. 2-4 away from home at Galway. A tough place to go to get a result. It was absolutely fantastic. Bowes were obviously a tough one away at Derry and stuff like that. But this was their opportunity to close the gap. If you look at the table there. And they got a point out of it. But they were hoping, I'd imagine, for the 3 to close that gap on Shamrock Rovers, because we really want that gap to tighten up to Rovers so we get that really cool run in like what we got last season. And it's really Bowes and Derry who are going to provide that. Then there's a gap to all the others really in terms of doing anything. So it's Bowes and Derry that we're leaning on to close that gap to Rovers and give us a real good run in towards the tail end and stuff like that. And that may happen, remember, because obviously Rovers caught up in Europe and stuff like that. Big win during the week there, 4-0 against St. Joseph's of Gibraltar. So that was a big win for them. Obviously, Shelbourne disappointed. Tough game against Quarterback, who are kind of Champions League level. That they've been involved in the Champions League and stuff like that. Name that often comes up. But losing 3-0 at home and then having to go away this week would be very tough. Now, the one glimmer of hope, if there is any for Shelbourne, I would say is at 1-0, they had a couple of chances to equalise and they didn't take them. And then in the second half, even though it was 3-0, I think they were by far the better team. They created some great chances in the second half, Shelbourne, and just didn't take them. If they had a finisher up front, if they had a real good elite striker, I'm telling you, that it could have been a very different picture, this, because they definitely created chances. Now, whether they're going to be able to create those chances on the road, I'm not too sure. It's very tough. Being 3-0 down, you can be quite demoralised. But if you go out and you get an early goal, you never know. You could test the mentality of that team. But uphill, definitely for Shelbourne, a tough one. And obviously, Pat's running out 1-0 winners. So far, I would imagine Rovers will go through. I'd imagine Pats are going to have to fight hard. And Shelbourne will be tough enough So we'll see what happens. But those ties are playing this week as well. I think it's Wednesday and Thursday. So keep an eye on them. If we look at Division 1, my side, Bray, of course, winning 2-1, I think it was. Good win for them. Athlone drawn 2-2 with Treaty. Dundalk 3-2 against Wexford. What a game that was as well. Dundalk getting the job done, but Wexford putting a bit of a battle in there. Cove will be the one who's disappointed as well, because they need to keep these wins going. If they don't win, then the gap is increasing there. It's now 6 points. And Bray are level on points now with Cove, just on goal difference. So six is the number. So it has tightened up greatly. But if Cove could have got a win there the other night, they could have been on 48 points. And 4 points feels a lot different at the top of the table than 6 points does, naturally. And then, of course, the Students picking up a big away win at Kerry. I think Darren, he picked UCD as far as I know for that one. He picked Dundalk. Did he go? I think he went with Athlone. I'm not too sure. It was a draw anyway, and Finn Harps and Cove. He went with, I think he went with Finn Harps in that one. But we shall see anyway, because we will be doing the preview on Thursday. So yeah, that's your kind of roundup of the League of Ireland and the European endeavours and the Premier League and Division 1 and stuff like that. But it is heating up to be, the final, whatever it is, third of the season or whatever it is heating up to be something really special. Just need a couple of results to go our way to get the leagues to tighten up a little bit to make it really, really exciting. Hopefully the three teams might have a bit of luck this week. I think Rovers are through, they're 4-0 up. I think Shelbourne with a big task, but they could do it. Early goal, you never know what might happen. They did great chances, they just didn't convert them. And Pats will need to be more on it this week. Winning 1-0, all right, but not overly convincing, I would have said, on that League of Ireland. So there you go, in Europe. So that's your roundup of the League of Ireland. Thursday, of course, we'll have the preview for the weekend with the League of Ireland. So don't forget, folks, this week we have a lot of shows coming up. So make sure you're hitting that bell notification button and dropping the likes and subscribes and all that kind of stuff. Because we are packed. Tomorrow night we have Pro Wrestling Weekly. Going to be doing quite a show on the tribute of Hulk Hogan, who sadly passed away. We're going to be looking at Raw. We're going to be talking about SummerSlam and any other news. There's a little bit of history there and stuff like that. And all, we'll go through that as always, and we'll get you in there in the chat and all, get your thoughts on things. Then on Thursday, we have Thursday Tier Talk. So we're going to be getting Darren's thoughts as well on the transfers and all the latest news around football. We get an update on the friendlies, all that kind of stuff as well. And then at the weekend, folks, we've got 2 bonus shows for you. We're going live at 11 o'clock at night. We're going to be covering SummerSlam Night 1 and Night 2. So we would love yous to join us for that and be in the chat. We can have the crack and all and everything and talk about it. Just get the beers out, get the food out, whatever way you want to do it. We will be here for both nights, probably 3 hours, I would imagine, at least. We will be actually discussing tomorrow night the running order for Night 1 and Night 2. Night 1 looks really, really good. It's really loaded up and stuff like that. Night 2, not as much, but still interesting. And they have added a couple of matches and stuff like that as well. So we'll get the full rundown on tomorrow and get the lads' thoughts on it as well. Hopefully Ian will get on with us as well. I know he wants to have a chat about Hogan and stuff like that. And both of us very big fans of Hulk Hogan. What else have I got? I think that's everything, folks. I think that is everything. Marky didn't make it tonight, but sure, not to worry, caught up with the kids. These things happen and stuff like that. So you only had me. That's the way it goes. So, folks, that's it. Monday Mashup. Until next time, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, drop a like on the video. Share the content as well, folks, as well. When you're finished, continue to comment on it, like it, share it out. Share it out on your socials. Get other people watching as well. Let's build this community coming into this new season and stuff like that. And until next time, I'll be back on your screens tomorrow at 8 o'clock with the panel where we will be taking a look back at the life of Hulk Hogan. Cheers, folks.